Have to unmute.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the 10 October version of Zoom here from streaming live from PLC, Oakhurst, California. And we welcome everybody. It's a wonderful autumn day. The leaves are starting to fall. In some places of the world, they're starting to turn color. And to me, it's a nice time of the year. I'm starting already to think about the holidays, the holy days, Thanksgiving, but always every Sunday that I'm here with this community, I'm always thinking of the love that just flows out and just touches everybody heart to heart. The community that just is so loving and so much to share and so much to spare here. So we welcome you here. And if you're new here for the first time, thank you for coming. And if you're coming here again and again and again, thank you, because you do make a difference by the love that you connect with us continually here today and throughout the week. So like I said, today is the 10th of October. We're still in the year of manifesting. And our themes for today are practicing inaction and meditation. Form is created through the mind reflecting. And what are you reflecting now? So with that in mind, let's take that into our heart space. It is time for meditation. And as we always like to remind you during meditation, time to turn off the cell phones. Time to take that reflective space and go into your heart space. Think about the love. Think about God with you, for you, and as you. And as we ask Jim Savarino to give us some of that music that will bring us more into the knowing of love as you.
My life is like a sapling in the wind. If you move me from the path I was meant to grow, I'll return. Though the motion may appear exceedingly slow, and if I seem to stray from my chosen one, I'm just following the light of the moon. It'll be washed away by the light of the morning sun.
Imagine the light of the sun. During the day, imagine the light of the moon in the evening, streaming down through you, because the light without and the light within are the same. And imagine the light of the sun, the light of the moon within your heart space now, just expanding and streaming down through you and connecting you with the earth and connecting you with all that is, the isness, God, the love energy of all there is. As you become the light, as you know yourself as the light and radiating as the sun and the moon, God acting with you, for you, and as you. And as you accept this, I know that this is who you are in truth, because I know who you are in truth and what you are in truth and how you serve in truth. And knowing this, you are truly free. And so it is, and so let it be so. And now we ask Reverend L.J. Bull for her wonderful spiritual thought of the day. And she'll need to unmute
my sound guy over here. He was working. Oh, goodness. Hello, everyone. It's good to see you. I was, when I was prepping for that talk that was the last one that I did, I was at the keyboard and I was deep in the experience of recalling and putting down Marie's life at that moment. And I had quite a depth of feeling in it. And I got a text while I was doing that. And it was from my friend Wanda. And I've known Wanda as many years as I've known Angie and Sandy. She was from the PLC in Fresno. And when I got that text, I decided to pause and I rang Wanda up and we had a wonderful chat. And a lot of it was on spiritual topics. But, you know, with Wanda and I, it's everything, you know, so we were talking about everything. And then there was another time about a month ago. And in that situation, I was in a meditation and it was late at night. It was 11:30 at night. And during the meditation, I heard the ping of the message going to the phone. And I, of course, continued the meditation. And then when I was done, I saw that it was Wanda again. And this time she was saying, let's talk tomorrow. Just real quick, just let's talk tomorrow. And so before I conclude the synchronicity of Wanda and what's going on, I'd like to ask a question. How, for me, I'm kind of surprised, but I'm wondering if it's similar for any of you. When I was in my 20s and first started to meditate, it was hard to just stay there for 5 to 10 minutes. It just seemed like forever. Now I go into meditation and it's hard to stop before 30 to 40 minutes. It just is so easy for time to flow on by in a meditation. And I'm just wondering, is that the case for anybody else? So it could be a rhetorical question, but I'm curious. So if you ever want to discuss your experiences with time, yes, Sandy. It is. It's similar. Okay, so I was just curious. And then, so I'm also reminded that Edgar Casey, in his study groups, the number one thing they did was meditate. That was the number one thing that he had invited everyone to do, was meditate. The second thing was cooperate. Cooperate with what comes through, where we are when we're in the space of meditation. Cooperate with that. And I thought that's beautiful because it's almost like giving it legs, you know, giving it space to be in our lives. So back to Wanda and I. So years ago, since Wanda and I've covered so much time and space together, years ago, I'd get all cranky. I'd have something that I was all worked up about. I was all, you know, and I would be looking for Wanda and I couldn't find her. Where's Wanda? And then there were other times that I just wanted to vent and get it all out. And it was weird because when I'd be on the phone with Wanda and I would be expressing that, what I found was the phone would act up. Sometimes the call would be dropped. Sometimes the call would get weird. Sometimes we couldn't hear each other. We'd have to call each other back. And by the time I called her back, I'd calmed down. I guess what I'm saying is I've always gotten the impression that Wanda was someone who just walked in spirit's flow. There was just being in the flow. And I always got that sensing with Wanda. And so I found it interesting in all these ways. I'm deep in the spirit. She texts me. I'm cranky. The phone doesn't work. I know it's woo-woo-ish, but boy, that synchronicity of how it shows up, whether she's there for me in all the ways she is, or we're there for each other and all the ways spiritual family is there for each other, or whether there's a space that's created so we can work through something ourselves. I gotta say, just recalling this, I felt like it was really tied to our three themes today. That meditation, that what are we reflecting, and whatever the third one is. So much love to you all. And so it is.
Thank you. What are you reflecting now? It's the third one. You know, it's interesting because whenever I needed to talk to Sandy, that's when I couldn't get hold of her, because it was like I had to get rid of the energy of need. So when you said you couldn't get hold of Wanda, it was like you needed to get hold of Wanda, so therefore you couldn't. Spirit was saying, well, you'll be able to get hold of Wanda when you get rid of that energy of need. And so equated to that on, you know. So thank you. That was a wonderful spiritual thought for today. Thank you. And now some more of our wonderful music from Jim Savarina.
Thank you. And Missy, that's an amazing about need. I can really identify with that when and the other way, when you completely let go. I won't do it. It would take an hour of things that happen when I was just not in need, and then it's like you're an open door for meeting people that you needed to meet and you didn't even know it. All right, so with that, I'll play something I wrote recently. I mean, even this morning I was still at it, but at least I know it. It's called The New Day Born. I went walking on a sunny morn, nothing on my mind, just a new day born. Among the trees, I heard the river run, made my communion with the morning sun. The river is wild, and the river is fast, but for a short time it will not last. When the snow melt passes, the river slows, everything's softer, that's the way it goes. Life is a river, we watch it flow, move through the seasons as the ages grow. Time is constant, whether fast or slow. Before we know it, we reach the ocean where we were meant to go. In the stillness of the summer heat, time slows down, the passing is sweet. In the summer days, the warmness grows, little fishes nipping at my toes. They have their fun, and I have mine. They meet a stranger, I drink my wine. With the setting sun, I walk away into my shelter till the newborn day. Life is a river, we watch it flow, move through the seasons as the ages grow. Time is constant, whether fast or slow. Before we know it, we reach the ocean where we were meant to go, where we were meant to go, where we're meant to go.
Wow, Jim. You know, today it's like the consciousness of your heart is in your music today, and the music is flowing out on that consciousness, and it's all about, for me anyway, it's what I'm getting from your music today is so a metaphor of flowing, and it's so much of the flowing back to God, you know, going back to God, and when you allow the flow, and we're going back home on that flow, and we can just allow it, and it kind of ties in with the spiritual thought of LJ's meditation and flow, and your music is just continues that whole meditative thought of
Well, thanks.
the one song to go home. So
I had a good jolt from the spiritual people of the Navajo Nation. I think I spent about a day with constant goosebumps. They just came back, but so I think that's given me a little kick that I needed. So thank you all.
thank you. It was nice. It was prayer in action, God in action, divine in action. Thank you for that today.
Okay, and the caretaker, I put her number in the chat.
Yeah.
So.
Thank you. Yes, for all those that didn't see it and didn't hear Jim say, he put Ruth's caretaker, Nancy Visick's number in the chat box. So for those who need it and want it, it's there for them. So, and in the spirit of flow and divine in action, we would like now to hear from our divine in action speaker of the day, and that's the Reverend Bob Hand.
Thank you. I'm going to talk about practicing inaction because I'm such an expert at that. And in fact, Jean sometimes says that I seem to be able to go all day long without doing anything. It's a real skill. I think it started for me in college when I first got a copy of the Tao Te Ching and learned about Taoism. But then, you know, you only learn about it. The Tao is very strong on inaction and has numerous quotes about it. I could probably spend just this whole time saying those quotes. But just starting with one, it says, the truly good man does nothing, and yet nothing is left undone. And again, as a younger person, you read these things, but don't really know their application. And the first time I really saw it applied, just a couple years out of college, I was the deputy director at a nonprofit that served people with disabilities. And, you know, I'm this young, eager guy. I'm getting in there, getting into everything, doing everything I can, make things better. And at one point, I heard from some staff, there were these two guys who, you know, were the type A sort of guys, really very assertive. And in front of other staff, they got in this big argument and yelled at each other, said some pretty inappropriate things. And staff were kind of upset about it. And so I went to the director and said, you know, we need to pull these guys in here, read them the riot act, and make sure they stop this. And he was an older guy. And by the way, the world has changed somehow. Back then, there were a lot of people who were older. Now that doesn't seem to be true. I'm not sure why, but a difference in the world today. But he was this older guy and had done this kind of thing for a while. And he said, you know what? Sometimes problems solve themselves. Let's let this go and see what happens. And I thought, he's just putting this off because he doesn't want to confront these guys. We're still going to have to do it. Sure enough, a couple of days later at a staff meeting, they both got up. They apologized to everyone, said they had worked out their problems and everything was fine. And I thought, wow, we did nothing, and yet nothing was left undone. How cool is that? And so this kind of inaction is significant in the Tao Te Ching, and it's a principle called Wu Wei. Now, Wu Wei actually translates as inaction or not doing anything, and that's its denotation. That's what it means. But its connotation, its real meaning, as in many spiritual concepts, is much more nuanced. It actually is closer to what we say when we say right action. In other words, action that is enough, but it's in harmony with the universe, in harmony with nature. Another saying from a different translation of the Tao Te Ching is, do enough without vying, be living, not dying. In other words, there are things to do, there are actions to take, but they're careful, slow actions that are in harmony with the world around us. And this is sort of illustrated in the story of a young man. This was in a kingdom far away, in a different time. And there was a young man who was very ambitious. And he went to the king and he said, you know, Your Highness, you've built bridges over the large rivers so that commerce can flow and you're making more money, and that's great. But there are these smaller rivers and streams without bridges over them. And if I can build bridges over those, then the farmers will be able to bring their produce and their cattle in more quickly, and you'll get your taxes sooner. And the king said, well, that's a great idea. I'd like to get my money right away. So he gave him some funds and he said, go out and show me what you can do. So this eager young man heads out, finds this small river with a farming community on the other side. And he goes to him and says, I'm going to build a bridge for you across this river. And the farmers say, well, we don't think we really need it, but no, this is going to make your life better. And so he brings in people and they're chopping down trees and they're sawing them up and they're pounding posts in. And there's ranchers with cattle. And this upsets the cattle so much that they move them away into the foothills. And so he gets his bridge done. He says, okay, let's get them across. But the people tell him, well, we're going to have to wait a few days for them to bring the cattle back because they were too upset with all of this commotion. But this is an eager young man. He's not good at waiting. And he said, well, while I'm waiting, I know this man who has made these brass plates with a king's image on them. And so I'm going to go get those. I'll run back and get them, bring them in. We'll put them up on the inside of the bridge. So everybody going across the bridge is going to see the king's image. It's going to be wonderful. So he does that. By that time, they bring the cattle back. But as they're starting across the bridge, the sun is flashing off of these brass plates, spooking the cattle, who turn and stampede and run off. He says, oh my gosh, what's going to happen now? And they said, we'll get the cattle, we'll bring them back, but you have to take those plaques off. And he goes, well, I can't take plaques off of the king. How would that look? But instead he makes banners with the king's face and he hangs those over the plaque. And he says, good, now we've got it. The plaques won't flash, but the king's face is still there. We're good. So he gets them, waits a few more days. They bring the cattle back, but now the weather's changed and it's windy and those banners are moving around, snapping in the wind, spooking the cattle who run off again. And he's saying, oh my gosh, now I could hook these down. But the king's man has gone back and reported to him. And now the king's upset because he's not getting the cattle in. And so he sends people back and he says, so we're going to have a toll on the bridge. And that way I can go ahead and get my money. And so he sets up men to collect a toll at each end of the bridge and they bring the cattle. But the ranchers say, well, no, we're not going to pay a toll to go across this bridge. And the young man says, well, what will you do then to get your cattle to market? And they said, well, right down there around the bend, there's a low place in the river and it's flat. And every year we go there, we make sure the entrance and exit to the river is smoothed out. We get in, take out any rocks that may have been washed in, and the cattle can easily cross there, and we're getting it all done. And so the ranchers have followed Wu Wei, the natural way of doing enough in harmony. But the young man was anxious and rushed into doing things without knowing how things should go. And this is reminds me of another saying in the Tao Te Ching, that the Tao does not strive, and yet it overcomes. It does not speak, yet it's answered. It does not ask, but is supplied with all its needs. It is at ease, and yet all of its plans are accomplished. This is the way we want to be and live life. It's like planting a seed. And we've all heard that. It's been spoken of by many others, that you plant a seed and you water it, maybe pull a few weeds, but you have to wait for that seed. That plant knows what it's doing and it's going to grow. If you dig it up to see how it's doing, it's not going to work. If it's putting out roots and you grab those roots and pull on them and say, I'm going to make this grow faster, you kill the plant. You know, if it's sprouting up and you grab that spout and pull on it and say, I'm going to make this plant grow the way I want it to, it won't work. And so we all plant seeds all of the time. We're planting seeds in the divine. And we need to do things, but these actions need to be along the way of this seed. And I thought about that and I thought, wow, all of these seeds I've planted in my life. And I like to look at where they grow and the fruit they provide. And it made me think very recently of, I don't know, 10, 12 years ago, we wanted to help people with disabilities be active in their community and be, I mean, not just there, but active partners. And so we started the Community Leadership Academy and taught them how to be on boards of directors and commissions and things. And it was very successful. The governor's office would call me asking to get people appointed. We were able to start these in several other centers across California and a few across the United States. So over the years, probably hundreds of people with disabilities have gone through this training and got on places. But it provided, and that itself was wonderful, but it provided other fruits that I don't even think of. Because of that, I got paid many times to go give presentations other places across the United States on this. Because of that academy, we got a grant where I went to Korea to do training, and in fact got a follow-up grant for me to go there, and Jean was able to go with me, and we made a good friend there who showed us around and we've stayed in contact with. Because of that Leadership Academy way back then and going to Korea, then I got other work where a man from Korea brought his staff here and paid me to show them around in the disability community. And we made good friends with him and we're still in contact. Because of all of that, I was asked to go to Dubai and make a presentation, and later got a contract to do training there. And I thought all of this is the fruit of that seed that was planted to help others. And in fact, in the job I'm doing now as the interim executive director of this, the most famous independent living center in the world, in effect, when I do this, I want to meet with everybody involved. I set up individual meetings with the staff, with community members, and with the board members. And two of those board members who I met with separately, each of them said, well, we voted for you for this position because you probably don't remember this, but years ago, and each of them did it separately, we went to a community leadership academy training that you had put on. And I thought, wow, that little seed has led to all of this and is still providing fruit for me that's making my life richer in many ways. And so it makes me think of that saying again by that master teacher, Jesus, of seek ye first the kingdom of God. So yes, we want to accomplish things in our life. We want to do things, and we can just rush out and start doing them. Or we can first go into the divine and we can plant a seed in the mind of divine spirit. And if we take the time through meditation or whatever system we have to go in, connect with divine spirit and plant that seed and give that seed time to grow, and then go about doing our actions in harmony with the growth of this seed we've planted, then we can be successful, and then we can realize that aspect of reality that all things are truly possible. Namaste.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you. That's Wu Wei. I think I was reading that last week, and I was going through the Tao of Pu. So I recognized when you said Wu Wei. That life just is when you allow the flow. I wrote down here, we all plant seeds in the divine, but we need to allow the time for them to grow. I like that. And you said planting seeds brings out fruit in our lives in so many different ways when we are open to allowing the divine to flow. And that kind of reminds me of when we talk about divine order and divine timing, that, you know, we're so anxious we want it right now. We want it to happen tomorrow, right? And when we allow it and we're just open to say, okay, here it is. And it just brings out fruit over the years. And the farmer in me recognizes that. It takes 5 years when you plant a peach tree until it fruits. You let it fruits, and for many years, you just let it go. Yeah. So thank you. Okay. Now it's time for our offertory. And I have in the chat box where you can send the donations. And let me put this here because, and I wanted to thank everybody for sending your donations in. It's all part of the divine flow. I like that. It's like you know, you bless it and it comes back multiplied. So it's all part of the divine flow. You know, God is the source of our supply. And so I think when I send my tithe in donation into Positive Living Center, that this is God in action. And I know it's going to bless the Positive Living Center, and it's going to bless me in return. So if you join me in saying the offertory prayer. Divine love flowing through me blesses and increases all that I give and all that I receive. And the announcements. The practitioner of the day is the Reverend LJ. And as always, if during the week, if you need any practitioner work, remember that Joe is our head practitioner. So please get with him and send him an email, send him a text, and he will get hold of the prayer team. You have a bunch of strong prayer people that know for you, you know, and let me tell you, it works. It works. And even if you're not quite sure what you need prayer for, you know, sometimes the heart is heavy. Sometimes you just don't feel like you're in the flow. And the prayer team knows for you. So don't feel like you feel stupid or anything that someone else needs it more than you. Nah. It's knowing that you are God and we know each other as God in action. So please let Joe know so that the rest of us can know for you also. That's what community is for. It's the love energy, like Angie said, it's the isness and the love energy in action. That's what we're all here for. Any other announcements? Any raised hands? Okay, then I will next week's speaker is Joe Bull. So please, same time, same location, same place. So if you all join me now in our prayer of protection. The light of God surrounds me. The love of God enfolds me. The power of God protects me. The presence of God watches over me. The energy of God is me. Wherever I am, God is, and all is well. Sandy, would you please do the closing treatment?
Yes, and before I do that, I just want to remind everybody, when you do your daily prayers, please include the church building and the church property and all the animals that are on the property. We have beautiful deer there, birds. It's a glorious place to be. And please go, even if we can't be inside, go and meditate, walk the property. It's a beautiful, sacred place. Angie really picked well when he picked that place. So close your eyes and take a deep breath and know that the truth of everything we heard today is in us now. That our hearts are open and expansive, accepting this wisdom, accepting our part in the allness of what is happening. That we are comfortable in the silence, comfortable in divine right order and divine right action. That we can allow so much of our burden to be handled by God's source and not have to work it every day. Allow us those quiet moments, those quiet understandings. Gift yourself with this. This is the greatest gift anyone can give themselves. As I know the truth of our being, I know the truth of each of us. And the world needs us, needs our hearts, needs our love, needs our divine right knowing and action. And as you go forth this week, take it with you. Take it and spread it and smile and just be love, bubbling up everywhere. So give grateful thanks at all that is ours. And say with me, please, and so it is. Oh, thank you, everyone. So unmute if you have anything to say, and we're going to have a great week. And just, it was a joy seeing everybody.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Wonderful service, everybody. Beautiful.
Love to everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Dad.
Bye-bye.
Love you.